This is episode 19. I'm getting through. I've got through 18. I'm on to 19 episodes of I Love This Album. Today I'm going to talk about another 1988 fantastic thrash metal classic in my mind. I talked about Overkill, Under the Influence, some time ago. And today I'm going to talk about Death Angel, Frolic, Through the Park. There it is right there. Yeah, and as I said, this came out in 1988. That was probably maybe Frolic Through the Park and Overkill Under the Influence might have been my two most listened to albums of 1988, especially this summer. I remember I listened to both of those constantly. I can't remember when Frolic Through the Park came out exactly, but I'm sure I remember listening to it in the summer. Before I talk about it, I'm going to talk about, as I do, I have a tendency to extend these things. I'm going to talk about my little history with Death Angel. I've been into Death Angel. They were interesting because they were the first band that I ever listened to that were, I guess, my age or maybe even younger. I got into Death Angel in 1987 when their first album came out, Ultraviolence, and at the time, I guess, I remember the drummer, Andy Gallion, at the time Ultraviolence came out. I think he was 15 or something. Maybe he was 14 when he recorded it. I was 17 when it came out. And I guess maybe some of the other guys were maybe a little bit older than me. Maybe 17, 18, something like that. So interesting there, or not, about Death Angel. Now, I remember how I got into Death Angel. I'm getting off topic here. This is not exactly about Frolic Through the Park, but about my history with Death Angel. There used to be a show, I've mentioned this several times, I think, a radio show, I know I have, in Toronto in the mid to maybe late 80s called Arg Rock. It was aggressive rock, Arg Rock, hosted by a guy called Brian Taylor, who I'm still not sure if he owned or just ran, if he was like the manager, or maybe he just worked at the Record Peddler, which was a great record store in Toronto. And so he also produced a couple of Sacrifice albums. I think he had something to do with Razor, maybe Slaughter, some of the other great Canadian thrash bands of that era, and punk bands too. And so he had this show in the 80s, aggressive rock, and I used to listen to it. It was on every Tuesday, CKLN 88.1 on your FM dial, and I used to tape it all the time. That was how I got introduced to a lot of great music, thrash and punk, and local Canadian Toronto bands. And one night I listened to it, and he said that he was gonna play. He was gonna give away tickets to this concert. It was at the El Macombo by Death Angel, and I'm not sure if I had heard Death Angel at that point. I think I had. I may have even had the album, but they were coming to play in Toronto at the El Macombo, and Brian Taylor was giving away tickets. And the question was, he played, I think it was Taking Care of Business, a cover of Taking Care of Business by a band called Goo Goo Dolls in 1987. At the time, Goo Goo Dolls was a punk band, and I think it was them, that they did a cover of Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive, and he played that, and he said, call in, and if you can tell me who originally did that song, you get tickets to Death Angel. And I got tickets to Death Angel, and I still have, as I do with a lot of my ticket stubs. I'm missing quite a few. There's my ticket stub from the first Death Angel show that I ever saw. That was in, what was the date here? August 15th, 1987. They played, I think they played two shows that night. They played an early show, maybe at 7 o'clock for people who were under the drinking age, which is and was 19 in Ontario. And then I think there was a later show. I must have gone to the early show because I was only 17. Yeah, it says showtime is at 7 p.m. And it was with Sacrifice. I love Sacrifice, and Savage Steel, who I don't remember too much about. So I did see Death Angel in 1987 when I was 17, and they were also around 17. So I'm getting off topic again. I'll go back to Frog Through the Park. They came to Toronto again in 1988 at a place called the Siboney Club, where I also saw Overkill and Nuclear Assault there. I talked about that some I don't know, some time ago when I did Under the Influence by Overkill. And so Death Angel came, and I loved that show on the Frolic Through the Park show. And I've got the ticket for that too. This is, it was October 6th, 88. I thought it was earlier than that. I swear I remember being kind of like a hot, nice day. Maybe it was a nice day. So there it is. This was signed by, that's Rob Cavastani, signed on the front. Oh, and I see on the back, signed by, I'm not sure who that is. It might be Andy Gallion. I remember I talked to him that night, or in the daytime or something. He was a nice guy, I remember Andy Gallion. So maybe that was him. So a couple of noteworthy things about this show, Death Angel at Symphony, and this was with Rigor Mortis. Two things. One, Danko Jones was at that show. The guy, the musician, the Canadian rock or metal musician, he was at that show, which I only learned, I don't know, maybe a year ago or something. I posted something about this concert, probably on the anniversary of it, on my Instagram. And if you want to follow, it's at Danbowski Mexico. I posted on it, and he commented. Danko Jones commented on my picture, tagging Dennis Pepa from Death Angel, asking him something and about that show. And anyway, so Danko Jones was at that show. And the other interesting, noteworthy thing about that show, for me personally, I'm going to show you something very ugly and bad. If you can see, forget about the fact that they're discolored because it's dead and I had like 4 root canals. This broken tooth, that was the result of this show. I was at this show, and at these shows, I always used to go up in the front, and I still go up in the front. And somebody dove, I don't know if it was a stage dive or if they went from the side of, I don't know, somewhere, but somebody dove on my head and broke my tooth. And I did get it fixed, and then it broke again, I don't know, sometime later. And I never did get it fixed. So that's what ruins my otherwise flawless face, let's say. So thanks, Death Angel, or thanks to the guy who made me less than perfect. So broken tooth at a Death Angel concert, 1988, October 6th, at the Symphony in Toronto. Now, getting to the album, Frolic Through the Park. This was similar to. It's amazing to think that how many of the thrash bands that I liked, how many of them, maybe it seems like all the ones, at least the big ones that I was into, took a massive step up from their first album to the second one. And Death Angel is as good example of any of them as that. I think I talked about this, I can't remember who I was talking about, but really all the thrash bands that I like, Metallica going from Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning, massive, huge, jump in everything. Slayer going from Show No Mercy to Hell Awaits, or you could even say Haunting the Chapel. Megadeth going from Killing Is My Business to Peace Sells. Anthrax for sure, from Fistful of Metal to either you could say Armed and Dangerous or Spreading the Disease. Testament for sure, going from The Legacy to New Order, which also came out in 1988, and I listened to that album also a ton in 1988, though it's not my favorite Testament album. That was The Formation of Damnation, which I talked about a long time ago. Who else was like that? Sacrifice, going from Torment and Fire to Forward to Termination. All these albums, and Death Angel going from Ultraviolence to Frolic Through the Park. Just a massive jump in songwriting, lyrics, sound for sure. And then I think Death Angel took an even bigger jump to Act 3, which was their third album, which I could have talked about that. I was a little bit undecided of which album I should talk about, because I love them both, I would say, pretty equally, Frolic Through the Park and Act 3. I went with Frolic Through the Park just because, as I've mentioned many times, or several times, when it's like this, you go with the one that came first. Kind of like Master of Puppets and Justice for All. I love them all, but I would go with Master of Puppets just because it came out first, so it had a bigger impact. I've used that word before. It had a bigger impact on me, and I don't know, so some other ones like that. So this is so I'll go through, as I do, track by track. First one is Third Floor. Welcome to the Third Floor. Fast. I don't know what else to say about that. It's a typical thrash band at that time. They opened with a very explosive song, and Death Angel did the same with Third Floor. I guess it was I don't know about a Third Floor. Maybe it was like a mental institution, or I don't know if you call it mental institution anymore. Trapped by iron bars, solitary ripping at me inside, victim of this crazy ward, must get out of here. No one gets out of here. And something else I loved about this album, and I talked about this also with Anthrax, Among the Living, and also Overkill, Under the Influence. I love those yelling, screaming, loud, shouting, backing vocals. To me, they weren't the gang vocals like the, I don't know, for lack of a better word, hair metal bands were doing, but just shouting, angry. And Death Angel had a lot of these on Frolic Through the Park, especially on this, Welcome to the Third Floor. It's a one-way trip, they lock the door. Welcome to the third floor. No, it's a one-way trip, they lock the door. Road Mutants was next. Maybe at the time I didn't think much of it, but looking back on it now, kind of cheesy lyrics. That was another thing that a lot of bands did. I think especially thrash bands, metal bands for sure. They wrote songs about the road and life on the road, and Road Mutants was like that. What are some of the? I guess the principal one was You Feel Their Presence. No. What was the ones about that they were really? I guess the whole song. They didn't used to be this way in the beginning. Not to put up a front. It's just the way they are. Enter the human race, but no one's winning. Do what you can. This is what they believe. Road Mutants crushing all. They smell like death, so hold your breath. Their skin starts to peel. Sucking moisture off the surface so the wounds that won't heal. In the night there is no light. The time is right to have fun. Perspiration is the question when you're caught by the sun. You feel their presence a mile away. You feel them coming, not too quick to arrive. That's just their style. When they finally hit the stage, there's nothing left to say. There's nowhere left to say. There's nothing left to say. The real word goes away. Escape for a while. So a little bit cheesy lyrics. I still love that song. It's a great song. Great bass intro opening to that one. Next was Why You Do This. That was a very unique song. I thought a little bit. This album was pretty original. It wasn't. I mean, it was clearly thrash metal, but it had a lot of very different elements to it. Why You Do This had, to me, was very punky. At least the opening, not the whole song, but the opening riff for sure was very, very kind of hardcore punk. Is that my? I always talk about a favorite song on each album. That could be a favorite. And the verses were kind of punky too. I will never understand the way you are. Your mind's an evil tool, striving for more. Can't you see I can penetrate your lies? I created you, but yet you still defy. Doesn't matter how hard I try. A lesson in respect is what you need. That's an excellent song, fantastic. And then it kicks into metal. And even the choruses were they weren't thrash, they weren't punk. Very, very different, very unique. Bored was next. Bored was the big hit single song, or the closest that Death Angel ever had to a hit single song. It was short-ish. It was three and a half minutes. I don't know how long it is. So direct to the point. It was their second video. They had a video on for Voracious Souls from Ultraviolence, and this is the first and I think only video. It's 327 Bored, and great guitar riff to open that. And I should say Rob Cavestany is maybe one of the most I never like overrated or underrated, but let's say overlooked guitarist. Everybody, and deservedly, in this genre, people talk about for rhythm or solo, people talk about Hetfield or Slayer riffs or Gary Holt and deservedly for all those guys too. But Rob Cavestany had some really, really amazing riffs. And I would say I love the solo also in Bored. It really, the song changes when it goes into the solo, and it's a excellent solo. When I saw them live again in 1990 at the Concert Hall in Toronto on a very, very extremely cold winter blizzard night in December, and I was right up against the stage, and they played Bored, and Rob Cavastani, I guess it was him playing the opening riff, the main riff, but then there was also at the same time the two guitars, and this is I like this kind of stuff. Instead of two guitars playing the same thing, the two guitars were playing something different. So there was the main riff in Bored, and then there was a, and I was pressed right against the speakers, and that guitar was louder, I guess, than the other guitar. And I was with my friend, and we both looked at each other like thinking, "Fuck, that sounds so good, so heavy and so loud." I love it. Bored. I'm bored. What was next? It's hard to read. Let's go this. Devil's Metal. Not too much to say about that. That was a bonus track on the CD only. I had this on vinyl, or I bought the record because we didn't call it vinyl back then. And in 1988, when it came out, probably the day it came out, I got the CD. It took me a while to get the CD. May 1st, 1993 was when I finally, I guess, got around to buying Frolic Through the Park. And Devil's Metal was a bonus track on the CD. Back then, I guess they used to want to entice people to buy CDs instead of buying cassettes or records. CDs were new then. And so Devil's Metal, I heard this, I guess, for the first time in 1993. And it seems like a song that should have been on Ultraviolence. I think just it was a little bit still lyrically for sure. I think maybe immature. One of the lyrics is Satan laughs at posers tonight, or Satan is laughing at posers, something at the show, something like that. That's a little bit silly for Death Angel. Maybe it was a leftover from Ultraviolence. Maybe that's why they didn't put this on the album proper and then put it on as a bonus track later. Confused. Confused was the last song on side 1 of the record, and that's a great song. That's another one that's different. That was different. I mentioned a few minutes ago about Death Angel being different than I think a lot of these thrash bands. Confused was very slow. I mean, it got very fast towards the end. Similar a little bit to, also I'm going to compare it again to Overkill Under the Influence. Was it Drunken Wisdom? Or I think it was Drunken Wisdom. And then also on the next Overkill album, Playing with Spiders or Skull Crusher, very slow. That was good, and it was a long one too. I think Confused was 7 or 8 minutes, 7:20, and I think they all sang on that one. I think maybe they took turns singing. I don't know if it's credited to who's singing. It just says music, Cavastani and Pepa. Lyrics, Rob Cavastani. Lead vocals, Mark, Rob, Andy, and Den. So 4 of them sing lead vocals. That's an excellent song. Sometimes in the back of my mind, I feel like something struck me blind to the path leading out of the forest. Losing my grip, I slip into the darkness. Searching for a trace of serenity, I find myself dwelling in my own self-pity. Either going up or coming down. Can I be the king or must I be the clown? Let me tell you something about myself. I got problems only I can tell. I forget what comes after that. Why do I need to say the lyrics? Please listen to me. I don't want to be confused anymore. And then it continues to get slow, and then it gets very fast, and a little bit, I would say, again, of a punky riff as it goes into the fast part. Excellent song. That could also be a favorite of this one, of this album. And then it gets slow again at the end. Who controls the matter of circumstance will make my move and leave the rest up to chance. Take my hand, I'll lead you to a faraway place, my friend, and there forever we can stay. Together we can stay, together we will stay, something like that. Next was Open Up. Guilty of Innocence. That was the first song on side 2. I still think of that sometimes. For some records, Guilty of Innocence was the first song on side 2. Straight ahead, just a fast thrash song. When there were records, you used to get a second chance to open up an album, and with thrash bands, it was always a fast song, and Guilty of Innocence was just a straight out fast thrash song. Excellent. Also, next was Open Up. That was another unique song, because it started with just an a cappella. Best loosen up and take it in stride. The world don't need egotistical pride, which I guess was maybe 3 or 4, or all of them singing. I don't know. Cool, excellent song, very unique again. And also I just can't believe what I'm seeing. It makes me sick inside. Condemned by the world around me. I'm not gonna run and hide. I'm gonna take no jive. Open up your sewn shut eyes, your disapproving eyes. When I'm walking down the street, people turn to stare at me as if I couldn't feel their eyes. They're living in a world of fear and lies, yeah. And Mark Ossegeda, I should say about him too. He may be, and I think still is now, one of the best singers in thrash. He was up for, if I remember correctly, after Joey Belladonna left or got kicked out of Anthrax, I can't remember. Mark Ossegeda was being talked about as the singer for Anthrax, which I was very, very excited to happen. And they got John Bush, which turned out to be great, because I think I like the John Bush era even better than Joey Belladonna. But Mark Ossegeda, man, that guy could scream. He could wail, and I think he still can. I haven't seen Death Angel now. The last time was 2008. I saw them in Mexico City in 2008, so it's been 13 years since I've seen Death Angel. But I'll give it to Mark Ossegeda. What a wailing singer that guy is. He had power. He was smooth. He could he could really belt it out and scream. He wasn't a thrash, just screaming guy. But yeah, Mark Ossegeda, fantastic singer. Shores of Sin. That was a longish one. How long was Shores of Sin? 6.5, 6:28. I don't know what to say about that. I like that one too. And then they did a cover of Cold Gin. I was and still am a massive Kiss fan. I got into Kiss in 1975. So any band that ever covered Kiss was always, if I didn't like them already, I probably liked them if they covered Kiss. And if I liked them and then they covered Kiss, I probably was ecstatic about that. So they did Cold Gin. Although Cold Gin is not one of my favorite Kiss songs, it was still cool for a band, especially a thrash band, because it was kind of worlds colliding, which I liked. So Death Angel covering Kiss was cool. And then the last song was Mind Rape, and they opened with that. When I saw them at the Symphony, the aforementioned when I saw them at this show, they opened with Mind Rape, obviously about Charles Manson. And I've read Helter Skelter, the Charles Manson trial book, 2 or 3 times. And part of the lyrics are almost word for word taken from Helter Skelter. Not X from Society. What's that? Leader of a hippie cult, the devilish chief, directs his wicked family to kill psychotic Lee, dying in agony. And then the chorus, they truly believe that he is Jesus Christ, as their bodies are raped of their minds. No sense makes sense in this world. He has your brainwashed mind under control. Yeah, it is X from Society. Dejected, utterly X from Society. Killed for a so-called God. Pledge allegiance to your family. So very total Charles Manson, Helter Skelter, whatever song. So that's it for Frolic Through the Park. One of my favorite thrash albums ever. It's like I said, this and Act 3 are my favorite Death Angel albums. But this one especially, the reason that I'm talking about it now is because I love this album.